Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 253 of the Co-op Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
Whoop diddy scoop, scoop diddy whoop. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I've been listening to some new hip hop recently. Hip hop is good again for some reason. But this is a very important show because I can't believe it's here already. But E3 2018 is kicking off next week, so yeah, definitely had to be here for this show.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Very big week coming, so it's going to be a very interesting show today. We're also joined by Mr. Jake James Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm good. I've been a little absent the last few episodes because of getting work done and stuff in preparation for this upcoming week. Because like Gary said, it's E3 time. Like it's about that time for us right now. And this is a very important show. We got a lot to unpack, a lot to discuss. And I'm excited. This is going to be my 53, going with you guys. So I'm pretty damn excited. And by the way, throwing this in there, my birthday E3. I'm celebrating my birthday out there. I'm turning 30 years old. So this is going to be dope for me.
Absolutely. Very, very big deal. We definitely will be celebrating. And we're also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie, who I believe right now is at BookCon. So how's it going, Dana?
It's going well. I apologize for the noise. I'm still looking for headphones, but it's going very well, and I'm very excited to be here and to talk about E3. Yay!
Sounds good. Okay, we will not be joined by Mr. Max Muller today, because I believe Mr. Max Muller is he's missing right now, getting ready for E3, having to take care of a few things. He will definitely be on our recap shows when we start doing stuff when we're out there, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so as Gary already mentioned, today we're going to be talking about E3, but before we do all of that, we're going to let you all know briefly what we have been playing. So, Mr. Lugo, how about you start us off first and let us know what you've been playing?
So I've been playing a bunch of different stuff. And again, even though I've been busy, I want to keep this a little bit light because, again, we got a lot of E3 stuff to unpack. But we got new reviews on the Koalition website right now. We have, obviously, the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection from Capcom. That review is up now. Pretty good collection. Gives a nice overview of the entire series from the original Street Fighter up to Third Strike with all the additions of 2, Alpha, and 3 all in one package. Online play as well for a couple of the games, which is pretty dope. Definitely check out the review when you get a chance. I also reviewed the Sega Genesis Classics collection, which is not a good collection. Now, I want to mention real briefly that I saw in the comments, a couple people were commenting about how Gunstar Heroes wasn't included in the Ultimate Genesis collection, the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, and it's the first time it's included within a Genesis collection now. That is true, but I don't think that one game or a couple additional games, even though it's got like 50-something games in this collection, makes it any good. It's pretty put together very badly. Not really a fan of the filters, definitely not a fan of how broken the online play is, as well as also just the inability to customize your controls. There's a lot of other different problems in there, but check out the review now on the website. There's a lot of big problems with it. In addition, I'm also playing now for review, which again, it's coming in a little bit late after the release, but it's going to be dropping this week before E3 time. Dark Souls Remastered. I'm playing it on Xbox One. That game is still brutal. You guys know how I feel about the Soul series, but look for my review very, very soon on the website, as well as also a couple other Switch games that are coming down the line. So I've been busy, but I'm ready for E3 talk right now.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So, Dana, I know that you've been busy at BookCon all week. Did you get a chance to play anything? You're muted.
I am muted. I haven't been able to play anything because I've been running around like crazy, unless Candy Crush on mobile counts.
We got you. Okay, Gary, how about you? What have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I did finally beat God of War last week. I don't think I mentioned that last week, but yeah, I beat God of War finally. I will say that the actual ending scene is very, it's very good. It's very touching and everything. But I have to say that I was a little disappointed because I thought, we were going to get more in terms of, the whole Norse mythology and the gods and everything. And I feel like we didn't really get enough of that in the game, to be honest. But they're obviously setting up future games. So, and there was a particular scene that happens after you beat the game, if you go back to Kratos' house, there's a huge tease that occurs. So they're definitely setting up future games in the series. But yeah, I was just a little disappointed with what we actually got in terms of the Norse mythology and stuff. But yeah, I would say it felt more special playing the first 3 God of War games to me than playing this one. But it's still an incredible game. It's, like, technically it's one of the best games this generation. From a technical standpoint, graphics are pretty good for PS4. And yeah, I enjoyed like some of the RPG mechanics. I felt like some of the RPG mechanics were a little unnecessary, but as I am an RPG gamer, I didn't mind it so much, and I kind of got into the flow of upgrading the armor and all that stuff, and then getting more abilities and becoming better and better in combat and stuff like that. Like I enjoyed feeling more like a god by the end of the game than I did at the start. Like that was cool. But yeah, besides that, it's a good game. It's a good game. I wouldn't give it a 10 personally, but it's a good game. Besides that, of course, I've been playing Overwatch, and I guess I can happily announce now that I will be going to the Overwatch League Grand Finals in New York City, this July. So yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be out there, which is cool. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing this week.
Sounds good. Yes, definitely looking forward to hearing what we have to say about this Overwatch tournament that you're going to be going to. Fun opportunity. Okay, so as for what I've been playing, I've only really been playing one game. It's a game that we have a review currently on the website right now that Tatiana reviewed. That is Detroit Become Human. I finished the game actually right after we recorded last week's show, and as I have said online on Twitter, I think the game is great in terms of the storytelling. I guess there are some aspects of it that are a little problematic. I know the controls, as you get deeper into the game, the controls get a little crazy for some people. But I think the overall message in the game was a fantastic message. And then, of course, the different paths that you can take, because I did start to replay some stuff, and I did see how it is different in certain aspects if you decide to go down a much more darker, dangerous path. It's very interesting. So I give Sony props and Quantic Dream for making a good game. I did not play Heavy Rain prior to that. Everyone that I have spoken to, they have said that they really do believe Detroit is the best Quantum Dreams game that they've ever made. I'm not in a position to really say that because, like I said, I haven't played Heavy Rain. I know Beyond Two Souls, I played the demo for that when it was on PS3 a long time ago. Wasn't really too impressed. But this game I thought was great. And, I just give Sony props for actually putting out different titles over the course of time, not really overly concerned about how well it's going to do. This game probably will still do well in terms of sales numbers, just because it's a good game. The story is not really an original story. I mean, we've seen the whole narrative about androids and humans before, but the way they handled it in this game, I thought it was excellent, and it definitely is a game that will leave you wanting to have conversations after you completed it. So I definitely would urge people to check it out when they have a chance to do so. I believe it is worth saying that, the game will take only about 10 hours to complete the first time. It's not a game that I would necessarily say you need to spend full price on. If you don't want to, you can wait until it drops in price. And I believe that it will be on sale soon. But definitely, absolutely, positively a game worth checking out. And definitely, I would say for me personally, it's a PlayStation 4 game that I've enjoyed so far this year. I have not finished God of War yet, so that may have something different to say once I finish that. But Detroit Become Human, definitely worth playing, I would say, without a doubt. So that concludes what we have been playing for this week. And now we're going to just jump headfirst into this E3 discussion because obviously this is going to be the focal point of everything gaming-related news that you're going to see for the next couple of weeks. So starting first and foremost, we're going to kick things off with EA Play. We will be attending EA Play next Saturday in Los Angeles. That will be the first official show that they will be having in terms of the predictions, so on and so forth. I do know in terms of the news that did happen with EA this week, obviously EA released Anthem, the first teaser footage of it. So we got this little glimpse of that. And then we also know that Madden NFL 19, that was also announced. That's also going to be coming out in August. So wanted to start off by getting you guys' predictions for EA Play. What do you think we will see from the actual conference? And are you looking forward to the show? And Gary, since you are a huge Battlefield fan and you already told me that you were planning on picking up Battlefield 5, I'm going to let you start things off and let me know, what are your predictions for this show? Do you think it's going to be good, disappointing, or what surprises do you think we're in store for?
EA shows the past 2 years have been, very disappointing. Both being there. Well, I haven't actually been there, but I've tried to be there, but they make it difficult. They've made it very difficult the past few years. But like just everything I've heard about the shows and any clip I've seen from it, they just don't look like, it doesn't seem like they're structuring the shows very well at the moment, and they usually spend a lot of time on sports games, which we've come to expect a lot of what comes with these sports games. So they probably don't need to put so much focus on them, because we know the basics of what they're going to be bringing to us. This year I hope that they'll focus on some of the stuff we really want to see. Of course, they're going to have an entire segment on Battlefield, for one. We already know that. And I am looking forward to that as well, because I want to see what they're going to do with the Battle Royale mode and, the multiplayer and everything like that. And I actually will consider buying this game as well, because, it looks interesting. It looks different from what they've done before. So I'll definitely be taking a close look at that. I think the biggest thing that has my intrigue from EA is Anthem. And I'm sure that we're going to get a full reveal of that and how it works, the gameplay model, the story structure, and, everything of that nature. So I'm hoping they spend a lot of time on that. And besides that, I don't think there's really too much I'm looking for from EA. It's really just those two games, but I feel like they're probably gonna announce something Star Wars related, because they are working on some other Star Wars stuff as well. And it seems like the right kind of time to announce something Star Wars with the Han Solo movie and everything. So they might tease something for that. And yeah, it's just gonna be a bunch of sports and stuff, and maybe they'll talk about some updates on the the engine and everything. So yeah, that's all I'm pretty much expecting. It should be pretty cool to be there, maybe, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different gameplay demos there. Maybe Anthem will be there, maybe Battlefield. Well, Battlefield will for sure be there, probably to be playable and everything. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of. What have you guys got?
Yeah, I do have a few things to say. I'm actually going to let someone else go next. How about you, Mr. Lugo? Any thoughts on EA Play? Any predictions?
Well, based on what I know, because again, we are going to be out there. I know we're going to get some hands-on time with some Battlefield 5, which is going to be very, very cool. We're going to spend some time with that as well, see what else they have out there. I'm fully expecting we'll probably get hands-on time, obviously, with FIFA, probably Anthem. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with some of the stuff that's come out lately with the trailers and some of the advertisements we're starting to see both online and even in some TV commercials, which I think is pretty cool. I don't think you see anything Star Wars related. I think right now it'd be smart for EA to get away from Star Wars, maybe talk a little bit about Star Wars Battlefront as far as the impact it's had as far as in a positive light. But I think that if you keep the conversation away from Star Wars right now and focus on some of these other things, I think it'll work to their benefit, because after everything that's happened with Battlefront 2, after everything that's happened with the cancellation of that Visceral game, I think it's smarter to keep the conversation and the mind share at E3 for some of these other exciting games that people could be excited about. And then next year, talk about Star Wars again, because I still think they're going to have the Star Wars license to make games for it by the time next year's E3 comes around. But for this year, I think you're going to hear all about Anthem. You're going to hear about FIFA. You're going to hear a lot about Battlefield 5, possibly maybe another surprise or two. I'm not really sure. Maybe some of the other sports games. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But I think that's really where we're going to see EA Play as far as the keynote and the press conference really steer towards.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, Dana. I don't know if you found your headset yet, but do you have any predictions for EA Play?
Yes, I do. Okay, so here's how it starts. Can I start with my fantasy first?
Yes.
So my fantasy, we all know this is not going to happen, but my fantasy in my head and my truth of my head and God that I wish that was alive and would do this is the show opens up with Hulk Hogan and Steve Gordon, aka Sting. They come out and all of a sudden they present WWE No Mercy. So that's my fantasy in my head that I wish. That's not going to happen, but I wish it did. What we're going to see is a lot of the NBA 2K9, what is it, 19 now? NHL, we're going to get FIFA, we're going to get maybe, didn't they delay Anthem though? I feel like a delay is about to come. So we're going to get, them talking about Anthem, but we're not going to get a release date. They're going to talk about Battlefield, obviously. I think that's going to be the big highlight thing of their show. But definitely it's going to focus on the sports, NBA, FIFA, NHL, Madden, all that type of stuff. So that's what we're going to get.
Sounds good. All right. So as for my predictions, I will say this, what Mr. Lugo said about the Star Wars thing, I actually agree 100% with that. I think that this next Star Wars game, whatever the next Star Wars game is, they probably will not really talk about that because they want the focus to be on this year. So Battlefield 5, yeah, they'll definitely talk about that. I think Anthem, they confirm it's coming out in early to spring 2019. And I think that is going to have a major presence at the show because it seems to me like that game is very important for BioWare. Obviously, if that game flops, then I think that is it for BioWare. That could very well be it for BioWare, because EA will not shy away from shutting down studios. So it's important for that to get a lot of focus this year. Of course, Madden NFL, we'll see more of that. I know we are definitely going to play that. NBA Live or whatever it is, I don't know if they're still on Live or Elite. Whatever the NBA game is fine. Although I really want them to bring back NBA Street. I have no idea what they're going to do with that. NBA Street would be great if it did come back, but that might not happen. What I do expect to see, aside from the stuff that you guys have already mentioned, I do expect whatever the other game that the creators of Unravel are working on, I think we're going to find out more about that sooner or later because they've been quiet for a while. I know they said they may work on a sequel. Perhaps that's something that may get announced or teased at the very least at the show. And then in terms of, once again, BioWare, it has been widely speculated that they are working on another Dragon Age. So obviously, like I said, Anthem is the focus of the show, but I wouldn't rule out a teaser of what the next Dragon Age could be. I recall we went to an EA event a couple of years ago where it pretty much everything was, this is all concept stuff we're working on. I think we may see some of that stuff this year if the game is out further along. So if they do decide to talk, that's what you'll probably see. This is what we are thinking about for the next Dragon Age, but you may not actually see any footage or something along those lines. But in terms of the EA show, go ahead, Gary. What were you saying?
Oh no, so sorry to cut you off. I was just saying that makes sense, and I would think that if they did show Dragon Age, it would be like a full-length reveal, because it seems like they've been working on that for a while, so they should have some stuff to show. But yeah, good. That's a good prediction right there. But carry on.
Oh no, yeah, that's that was a very good point that you made. We'll see about it because I don't know. I would assume they have different teams working on some of these things. So the Dragon Age project definitely has some type of, it is at some level right now. I don't really know when we're going to see it. One other quick thing I will mention, another game that we obviously know is coming in the future is Titanfall 3, because EA purchased Respawn. So maybe they don't really show too much on that, if anything at all, because they have to save some stuff for next year. But if that game is coming out in spring 2019, you're definitely going to see something for that, because they definitely want you to know and think about what they have also coming at the beginning of next year, because it's still within the fiscal year calendar for them. So that's pretty much all the predictions I had is in terms of what we'll see at EA Play. Do I think the show is going to be good? I don't know, because as you already said, Gary, you know, there was a year that we all tried to get into EA Play. We didn't get in there that year. I know Mr. Lugo was in there last year. The show could be okay. Do I think it's going to be the best show of E3? Absolutely not. But it'll probably be okay at best. But any final thoughts on EA Play before we move on to the next show?
I think it could still be good. Let's just get that out the way. I still think that they have some interesting stuff they could show. It would make more sense that they don't do like what they did last year, where they showed Anthem and then they said look for it more at the Microsoft conference the next day. I think that's a stupid idea. I think all those EA games should be shown in some good capacity at the EA Play event. I think that'd be cool. And then obviously still show them at the Microsoft event, but the majority of the good stuff should be shown at EA Play. But that's just my personal opinion. I still think it could be a fun, interesting show depending on what they actually reveal.
I agree. Very good point. And I think once again, as you alluded to, you know, Anthem is a very, very big deal for them in BioWare. So I expect that to be all over this show. But we'll see what happens. Okay, let's move on to the next show. And I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Edward and Ruthless Kid in the chat, because these are the Microsoft fanboys. So we obviously got to talk about the Xbox conference, because I believe that this is the show that a lot of people have their eyes on, especially with the news that came out this week of where there was this report about Crackdown 3 getting canceled, and then that was debunked, and they said, oh, well, you'll still be able to purchase it, but they never said when the game is coming out. So a lot of people are speculating that game might be delayed to 2019. Who knows? But we definitely have to talk about what we think is going to be at the Xbox conference. I think I already mentioned on this show before, I actually have an appointment to play the games the following day after the conference. So whatever is shown, I will have more in-depth thoughts on, because I'll get to play that stuff after on the following day. So for right now, though, let's talk about what we think is going to be at the show. So Mr. Lugo, how about you start us off and give us your predictions for Microsoft's conference?
Yeah, I have a lot, because I actually had a full conversation about this with friend of the show, Danny Pena, Godfrey over at Gamertag Radio. It was me, him, and Robert Workman, DCD. We sat down for a whole podcast of his discussing specifically Microsoft. So definitely, when you get a chance sometime, check that out when it's live. But basically, one of the things that I was saying there was that I still think that it could be an interesting show. I think that they have a lot of surprises. And a couple of things he was telling me that were picked up from a variety of different sources is that there might be some big surprises related to legacy Microsoft franchises, related to like the original Xbox and stuff, specifically with some Japanese developers. Now, again, a lot of it is speculation, but there seems to be a lot of things falling into place all over in a variety of different spots. One of the things that he brought up, and I think I kind of agree with, is the reveal of like a brand new Jet Set Radio, or at least something like Jet Set Radio coming to Xbox Game Pass. You know, things like that are coming from developers or Japanese developer like Sega, mainly because Phil Spencer, not too long ago, or at least some time ago, I want to say a little bit more than 2 or 3 months ago, took a trip to Japan, and he posted up a thing on Twitter saying like, congratulations to some of the people over at Sega. And he mentioned Jet Set Radio specifically. And, you know, you don't just do something like that and, you know, not worry about the perception of what people might have. You know, there's usually a reason for things like that happening. The other thing too is that games like Crackdown, I feel like will get shown again, might get re-revealed in some capacity, because that's been away for quite a while. And I think that game might have changed in some capacity. A lot of people are also saying that, you know, a new Gears of War might be over the horizon. I don't necessarily believe that, but what I do believe that I think we get the first tease of the next Halo from 343. Personally, for me, I think that it's been a while. I know that there's been a Halo arcade game or some other Halo related property that's not a console game for the Xbox One X or the Xbox One in general, but I think that you get a tease this year for whatever the next Halo is going to be, and then next year we can finally get the big reveal of what that game actually is. And I believe that whatever that Halo game is that it's going to be a lot more Master Chief centric. Because remember, Halo 5 Guardians, a lot of people were upset about the whole Locke and Chief aspect, that whole dynamic. They weren't really rolling with that. So I think you go back to a more traditional style Halo game in that regard. I also think that at the same time, one of the things I also thought was interesting, which also I was talking about with Godfrey, was that Scalebound, the game page for Scalebound, went back up on the Microsoft Store. Like, you could actually see that. Remember, that game was supposed to be canceled some time ago. So it's interesting to see that a canceled game still have a game page on the Microsoft Store in some capacity. I think that's a little bit interesting. That could be a tell, maybe that they are going back to trying to rebuild that game or trying to at least, you know, get it out on the platform in some capacity. But it's interesting to see because there's a lot of surprises, a lot of potential for surprises to come out of Microsoft's conference as far as big hype moments, as far as cool reveals and things that is really going to make a lot of people within that Microsoft or Xbox ecosystem really happy. So there's a lot of potential there. So here's hoping.
Sounds good. I agree. I think I'll go next. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. So let's start off. In terms of the surprises, there's been rumors floating around about Sunset Overdrive 2 that I saw that have since been somewhat debunked, but it's still up in the air. I don't really know about that because Insomniac is currently working on Spider-Man unless they have another studio working on Sunset Overdrive 2, which wouldn't make any sense at all. So I do know when I had a chance to interview Insomniac at E3 a long time ago about Sunset Overdrive, in my interview, I had asked them if they had planned to do more games in this series, and they already said they have plans to make more games, but it will all depend on if the first game is successful. We know that the first game didn't quite hit the sales numbers it needs to hit. With that said, I think Microsoft would release it on PC because it's still not on PC. I think that's an announcement that you will get. And if you get that announcement, then it's more likely that there might be a sequel coming in the future. But in terms of it getting announced at the show, I have no idea because I think that'll be a huge surprise if it is announced. It is possible, but again, it all depends because Insomniac, they're already busy finishing up Spider-Man. They could realistically jump right into this next if it is something that they have agreed upon with Microsoft, but we'll see. Halo 6, I definitely think there will be a teaser for that. And the way I look at it is that the perception is that Microsoft, even though they had Sea of Thieves come out this year, and then you also had State of Decay 2, the overall perception is that Microsoft has not been doing a good job releasing a lot of high quality titles for quite a while. So I think that this year they're going to just come out guns blazing with a lot of the things that they'll show. Even if something is not nowhere near being close to being done, they will at least announce that it's being worked on. So I think Halo 6 is a guarantee. Gears of War 5, I definitely think that is a possibility because it is about the time for there to be another Gears of War. Now, I don't think that that game is going to be coming out this year. That's a game that you may see early next year. But I definitely think it's coming because this studio has been working on this. We know that they've been working on it for a while. And Microsoft has already actively said that the next Gears and Halo, you will not have to wait until the next Xbox to actually see these games. So they're definitely in development coming, I would say, next year at the latest, at least for Gears of War. Halo could be the same thing. But yeah, next year, both of those games. In terms of other surprises, I will be very curious to see what they're doing with Perfect Dark, if that is actually coming back. I have no idea what the status is of that particular franchise. I know they still are very much interested in that, so that's a possibility. Fable and the whole rumor of Playground actually working on a Fable title. Maybe we'll get more clarification on that type of stuff. But I mean, really at this point, I wouldn't rule out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Microsoft is obviously working on. I believe a new IP is something that we definitely could see. But for now, it's really hard to really gauge and determine. I know that when people go to these conferences, they want to see some franchises that Microsoft has that they haven't been working on for quite a while. So I would not rule out them actually bringing back other franchises that people have had interest in. But for now, I think, yeah, Gears of War 5 seems like that pretty much seems like that's definitely going to happen. And some of the other things that I've already mentioned. But that's all I have to say for now on Microsoft until I actually see what they have to show us. Gary, any thoughts on what Microsoft might show us at their E3 press conference?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys have been saying. I do think we're going to see, new Halo and Gears. And me personally, I feel like it's a bit too soon to see a new Gears. But, these are their like top tier go-to, exclusive IPs, so it makes sense, I guess. As for Halo, it is starting to get to the point where you're like, I need a new Halo game. So I can understand that now. If it was last year, I'd have been like, oh, it's too soon. But where we're at now, I feel like now is a good time to be talking next Halo. So it makes sense for them to reveal a new Halo game. I think, of course, we're going to see Forza. That's a given. We're going to get a Crackdown update, I think, and I have to apologize to Ruthless and Ed, but I am going to sound a bit negative, right now. But I think that's an L to be showing Crackdown again, because like this is a game they've been showing like for the past 3 or 4 Xbox conferences, at E3, and it still hasn't dropped yet. And like it should have dropped already. It's been delayed and everything. So it's like, and I remember the first time they revealed it, they hyped it up as a game that's going to show the power of the cloud and everything like that. So it looks very bad at this point that this game still is not out, and we're still waiting for it, and we're still going to see it at E3. So, I just have to say that like it's a bit too much at this point. But I do think we'll get an update on that. Hopefully, the way they can win this, is if they say Crackdown 3 is available right now on Xbox on Games Pass. If they do that in the middle of the conference, then that's a win right there. But if they say, oh, the Crackdown 3 is coming this fall or it's coming next year, then that's an L automatically. I'm sorry. But yeah. I do think we'll see some more of the Ori and the Blind Forest sequel. I can't remember the name. But I think they'll show
Ori and the Will of the Wisp. That's the name of the name of the game.
Yeah, there you
Ori
go.
and the Will of the Wisp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they're going to show some more of that for sure. And that's something to get excited about because, the first game looks really, really good. I didn't actually, get to play it, but I saw people playing it and it looks like a really good platform game, So I think we're going to get some high profile third party exclusives or, just some might not be exclusive, but like they might just debut at the Microsoft conference. So I'm thinking Splinter Cell will be one of these. I think we'll see a new Splinter Cell, and that would make sense because that series has kind of been tied to Xbox. There was I believe there was one of them that was fully exclusive, and there's been other ones that have been more of a preferred thing on Xbox. So it would make sense for them to announce something like that. I'm also hoping that we're going to see some Japanese stuff. So maybe bring back some of the old RPG series that they brought out before, like Last Remnant or Lost Odyssey. I think that would make a lot of fans happy because we need some more of these JRPG kind of experiences on Xbox, I think, as well. So the game selection needs to be a lot more diverse. Like, they have Western games covered. They do have a lot of arcade games and stuff as well. But we need some more, variety in terms of, the regions and, where these games are coming from. So seeing some Japanese stuff, on Xbox would be really good, I think. And I hope that they do that because Phil Spencer did have that meeting out in Japan last year. And he mentioned, last year he couldn't really announce everything that he wanted to announce because, things were still progressing. But I'm hoping this year, there's a lot more they can say in terms of, what the result was of those meetings in Japan. So I'm hoping to see some more, JRPG and Japanese style games and everything. And I do expect some, there's probably going to be some sort of updates, talk about Xbox Live kind of thing, like probably Games Pass. They're probably going to announce a bunch of stuff that's coming to Games Pass. Maybe even something I suggested on After Hours was they should merge Idea Xbox with Games Pass and just put all of that stuff on Games Pass. I think if they did that, there would be a lot more to really look forward to. There would be a lot more value inside the Games Pass. So I think they'll probably announce something like that in terms of Games Pass, just to kind of make it more appealing and more appetizing. They may even, you know, announce some more cross-network stuff with Windows. So, you know, maybe there maybe like everything on Games Pass, you'll be able to play on PC too, and things of that nature. But that's pretty much all I can think of at this moment. But yeah, I do hope that Microsoft does impress us, and I hope that they have a great showing this year, because they really do need it, I think. So yeah.
Some very good thoughts all around. I just want to make a quick comment before I move on to Dana. I just want to say, you gave me an idea, and I had mentioned this to you guys before, about Game Pass. I would not rule out that Microsoft will play around with the idea of having some of these third-party titles that are coming out this fall appear on Game Pass. And a perfect example of that is Fallout 76, because they have a relationship already with Bethesda that goes back to when they had the PC. So if they put that on Game Pass, and you have the attractive thing of somebody, all they need to do is have Game Pass to download this instead of spending a full price for it. That I think would be a very, very big deal for Game Pass. But we'll see, because I just feel like they're going to use Game Pass more with third-party titles, not just the exclusives, because that will make it a lot more appealing for somebody knowing that they don't need to spend full price to actually get a newer title that's coming out that's not just a Microsoft exclusive. So that's all I was going to add. So Dana, what are your predictions for the Xbox conference?
Steve Gordon and Hulk Hogan comes out, and they announce WWE No Mercy Remastered. But other than that, Halo 6, I think their big highlight is going to be their Games Pass thing, their streaming service with that. Also, we're going to get, I said Halo 6. They're going to, you know, I think they will show more Crackdown 3. I do see there being, yeah, that's like everything you guys already said. So the Games Pass is going to be huge. And I also see them announcing more backwards compatibility, some new games with that.
Absolutely. Sounds good to me. So we'll see what happens with Microsoft. I mean, there probably will be more surprises, but that's just a guess for right now. Obviously, if there is other stuff that leaks out during the week, or I will have something to say about that the next time we record a show, but we'll see. Any other thoughts on Xbox before we move on to the next show? All right, so next up is Bethesda. We actually will also be going to this conference. And as I had already mentioned, you know, Fallout 76 was announced earlier this week. A lot of people have a lot of speculative theories as to what that actually is. We've heard it could be an online multiplayer experience. It could be a lot of different things, but obviously we'll find out what that is at Bethesda's conference. We also know Rage 2 was also announced a couple of weeks ago. So those are at least two surprises that are already revealed, and we'll get more information on both of those games at Bethesda's conference. But we're going to go to you first, Gary. What do you predict that we're going to get at Bethesda's conference?
Man, like I'm not sure. Like in terms of surprises, I really don't know what to expect, but it feels like they might have blown the biggest thing already. Like, yeah, I think, you know, the Fallout thing, that would have really shocked us if the conference had come by and, you know, we'd seen that trailer then. Like, that would have been a big surprise. But we've already had that. So in terms of surprises, I'm not sure what else, you know, we can get. We've already had the Rage announcement, you know. But I think they're just going to drill down on these things that we already know about and show us, you know, a lot more gameplay and the specific things you can do, like the gameplay mechanics and everything, and how these games work. I think they have a lot to explain with Fallout 76, because this is I think this is going to be a different style of game. It's not going to be your ordinary Fallout, you know, type of game, type of RPG game. It's going to be more of a survival based game, like, you know, for those who are familiar with the PC games, DayZ, H1Z1, you know, all these different survival games. A lot of those are coming to console as well anyway. But I think they're going for, you know, more of a survivalist thing, and I believe it's going to be online too. And I think they have a great formula for making something like that, because one of the things I remember putting in my review when I reviewed Fallout 4 was that this felt like a survival game. Like, you know, you had to build things, you had to build a shelter, you had to collect things. You had to obviously be wary of, you know, all the different threats in the world and everything like that. Like, it felt like a survival game, like, you know, one of those games I just talked about before, Daisy and all that stuff. So this is like them basically going full blown with it and saying, look, this is actually a survival game in Fallout universe. So I think this could really work for them. You know, if they explain it well enough to the audience, this could be a big thing, because, you know, even games like PUBG and Fortnite, that comes from the whole survival, you know, genre on PC. Like, the survival genre on PC was huge, and it's kind of expanding out to console slowly, you know, in these different games and stuff. And I feel like games like PUBG, Fortnite, and Fallout are really going to push that whole survival genre forward in a big way. So I think that Fallout 76 is definitely one to watch. I saw a lot of people kind of upset at the prospect of an online Fallout game, but I think those people probably don't understand the appeal just yet. But, you know, once Bethesda kind of explains it and breaks it down, I think a lot of people will be sold on it. And this is, you know, it's kind of like your battle royale, but it's a different approach. It's a more free form approach, you know, whereas in PUBG and Fortnite, you know, the match is over when everyone's dead and, you know, there's one man standing. A lot of the way a lot of these survival games work is just really open-ended, and, you know, if you die, then yeah, like, you might be gone from the server, but it's not like there's an overall objective. It's just you're grinding, you know, it's more atmospheric. It's all about the actual experience. So if that's the approach they're going to take with Fallout 76, I think it could be a big deal, to be honest. I'm expecting, you know, probably some Elder Scrolls Online, you know, maybe an expansion. They do have a Summerfall expansion coming out. So I think they'll probably talk about that a little bit. And my hope is that they tease the next Elder Scrolls game, like the next full-blown, you know, Elder Scrolls 6. Like, I would love if the conference ended with a tease for that game. But I'm not too sure if that's going to happen, because it seems like Bethesda is spread a bit thin at the moment. They have so much going on and so much that they're working on. So we may not get that just yet. But yeah, that's all I've got for Bethesda.
Sounds good. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I will have a few other things to say. I'm going to go on to Dana. You have any thoughts on what Bethesda might show? And let me stop you right now before you start. No Mercy. No, we cannot mention No Mercy no more.
Get the Fallout version of No Mercy. But aside from the Fallout 76, I do see there's going to be some DLCs, probably for Elder Scrolls, Quake 2 Champions, I think it's called. We're going to get expansion packs for that. I do see a lot of VR. So Doom VR, whatever, Wolfenstein, who knows? That could be VR as well. So I think that's going to be their heavy stuff aside from Fallout 76 is VR, VR, VR. So.
Sounds good to me.
In terms of Quake Champions, what I hope is that, you know, somebody comes out and they say, sorry guys, Overwatch exists, we're shutting it down.
No way that's happening.
No, yeah, I do think they're going to announce something for that, you know, probably some updates and, you know, maybe even, you know, an expansion or some form of, because I think they do want that to be, you know, their version of, like, you know, a big esports kind of FPS game. But that I think that game is very niche, so they have a lot of work to do in terms of marketing it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did do something to put the spotlight on that game a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I'll go real briefly before I go to Mr. Lugo. And I'm gonna give a shout out to we have I believe it's I hope I pronounce this correctly. Abzid the King 2K14. You said exactly what I was going to say. Whatever that Starfield game is that Bethesda has been working on, that definitely is going to get teased at the conference. I just think the fact that they've announced Rage 2 already, and you've announced this Fallout game, they have to have something else, because they can't just announce every game that they're going to show and then there not be some surprises at this conference. I also want to add that when we went to the last year's Bethesda conference, a few games that they did announce, and the surprise being, Wolfenstein 2 and Evil Within 2, but then the announcement that both of the games were also coming out the same year. With that in line, I would say, Rage, I think they already said Rage 2 is coming out in 2019. I would not be surprised if that Fallout game is coming out this fall. Because, when they did Fallout 4 the last time, when they announced it and it came out the same year, that was the surprise in and of itself, because people didn't know it was coming that soon. So I would not rule out Fallout 76 coming out this fall. But the Starfield game, yeah, that definitely will get mentioned. DLC for, I believe it's a couple of other games. Prey, because I know that there was a rumor that came out about that a while ago. They're going to have DLC for that. Yeah, I can see that. More Elder Scrolls Online stuff. And they actually have the expansion for Somerset coming out this Tuesday. Yeah, there'll just be a lot more support of the games they've already been releasing. But in terms of the surprises, yeah, the Starfield game, Rage 2, we'll see more. Well, maybe we'll get a release date. And then I definitely think Fallout 76 is coming out this fall, if I had to make a guess. Okay, Mr. Lugo, what are your predictions for the Bethesda conference?
In all honesty, I think that a lot of what you guys said could be a strong possibility. I think that you also maybe get some more DLC maybe for Wolfenstein 2. I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, that game's coming out on Switch sometime soon. And from when I played it at PAX East, it was pretty damn cool. So maybe they'll go back to that, go back to the well with that. But I also fully expect maybe we get teased for the next Elder Scrolls project. I don't know if it's necessarily Elder Scrolls 6, maybe more stuff for Elder Scrolls Online, because I know that they had a lot of that back at PAX East that they were showing off, as well as also Quake Champions. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. I know there's a very big esports thing related around that, and they put a lot of stock into it with a lot of the characters related to Bethesda and stuff. Obviously, Fallout 76, that's a big deal. I think also maybe you probably get some other stuff, including some of their mobile titles, including the Elder Scrolls card game that they had shown at PAX East, and then maybe going back to Fallout Shelter, having Fallout 76 stuff related to that in Fallout Shelter at some point. The other thing, too, that I really wanted, it's kind of like my wish, I hope we get an announcement or some sort of thing related to Doom, because I think that Doom was a big success. And not only did they do Doom VFR, which I think even though some people said it was all right, it was okay, Doom itself was a pretty damn big success. And a lot of people loved the reboot for Doom. So I think that if they were smart, they would go back to Doom and do a Doom 2. And again, continue with that rebooted series, because it was really fun to play, myself included. Again, having wrote the guide for it, I thought it was pretty dope. Besides that, as far as any other like big surprises related from Bethesda, I think we've kind of known already like what their major surprise would be, which would be Fallout 76. So who knows? I could be totally wrong. They could come out with some other awesome stuff there, whether it's the stuff that I mentioned or something that we're just totally forgetting. I don't think they're going to do an Evil Within 3. I don't think you get something like that, to be honest with you. But I think that we still got probably some potential for some cool surprises there.
I agree. Very good thoughts. Yeah, and I also don't know about Evil Within 3. I do know there is going to be another Wolfenstein. The devs made that very clear, but that's still a ways away. So, but yeah, great thoughts overall. So, any final thoughts on Bethesda before we move on to the next conference? Okay, now we're going to move on to, I believe, what is going to be Gary and Mr. Lugo's favorite conference, which I'm sure we can all agree on, Square Enix. So I believe they are going to have a show, a stream, and that's going to be taking place on Monday before all the other shows get kicked off. So Gary, how about you start us off and let us know what you have as far as predictions for the Square Enix conference?
Yeah, interestingly, I didn't even know they were having a conference until like a week ago or a week and a half ago or something. But the fact that they are having one tells me they have some major stuff to show us that, can't just be contained in a Microsoft and Sony conference. Of course, we know that they've got Tomb Raider coming, and I expect a huge showcase for that game in particular. I expect to see the Avengers game that they've been working on. I'm sure we're going to get to see, the first signs of that, because it's a perfect time to announce that too, because we just had Infinity War. We're waiting for part 2. There's some other, stuff coming out like Ant-Man and Captain Marvel. So it's a great time for them to announce that Avengers game, and I'm sure we're going to see it. And I'm almost certain that a huge portion of the show is going to be entirely focused on Kingdom Hearts 3. And I believe we're going to get a release date, after they do that. So I think that's pretty much what we can expect. There's probably going to be a few other things sprinkled in, like, maybe some middle, maybe some, smaller titles that they're putting on, mini games and stuff like that they're putting on the Nintendo Switch and other platforms, maybe some mobile games and things of that nature. Maybe they'll be kind enough to give us an update on Final Fantasy, 7 Remake, maybe, but I'm not expecting them to, because I feel like that game is so far away that, yeah, I'm just going to not expect it at this point. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be it. Like, I think they have a lot to show. With those specific games I mentioned, there's a lot that they can unpack and show to the world with those titles. So I think the majority of the show is going to be dedicated to, those games in particular.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Okay, Mr. Lugo, your thoughts on Square Enix predictions?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Gary. I think that the majority of the show, or at least some of the bigger stuff, is going to be focused on Kingdom Hearts 3. Obviously, they had an event not too long ago during the same time as the Black Ops event and during Judges Week, where they had gameplay for Kingdom Hearts 3 come out. We saw 2 worlds. I think that we finally get the reveal of another big world, whether that's San Fran, Tokyo from Big Hero 6, or like I've been saying for a while, I think that they reveal the Frozen worlds. I think that's still coming. I still think that we're going to get some more cool surprises eventually of that game. I do think we get the release date. I don't necessarily think that they're going to make it. Again, I'm really suspect of Square Enix when it comes to games like this, because we've known from the past with Final Fantasy 15 that they'll say it and then all of a sudden it'll get delayed sometime afterwards, even though I still think it's coming out, which is great. I don't think you see Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I know that them having a conference shows that there's some big stuff happening, but if you guys don't remember, we talked about this, I think, on the co-op, where there was a whole news story that leaked out, that came out in relation to what Square Enix was doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake. They pretty much scrapped everything that CyberConnect 2 was doing. So I think that that game is still being worked on, but I don't think we see it this year. I think we also see more of the Square Enix Western games, which will be interesting. I think we get to see, obviously, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I still think we get to see, the Avengers game, which was announced last year, I believe it was, that we actually get to see gameplay in some sort of capacity, which, like Gary said, this is a great time because we just had Infinity War. Marvel is hot right now, so it would be great to see more of what that game is going to be, which I still think that's going to be kind of like a third-person action game where you get to control like maybe one or a couple of the Avengers. That'll be pretty damn cool. As far as anything else, I still think we also get to see Dragon Quest 11. We get to see that. Probably a little bit of mention of some of their mobile titles, because I know that they're going to be there in some capacity on the floor. As far as anything else that's really big that I could think of as far as Square Enix Japan or Square Enix, was it Western? I think we also get some reveals related to Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, because remember, this month we're getting a new character for that game, and I think that it would also be a great opportunity for them to kind of throw it in there to tease some of the other characters that are coming as DLC as part of the season pass. That makes sense to me. But as far as the big hitters, as far as the big announcements and big reveals during the conference, I think it's just you're going to get more Kingdom Hearts 3. I really don't believe we're going to get a lot of, if any, Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about Final Fantasy Remake, and apparently Gary did as well. So
I mentioned it. I said I said it would be nice if they would give us an update on it, but I'm not expecting it.
I'm with you though, Gary. I think that we should get an update. Where it would be nice to have that, but I don't think they do it. And if they do, maybe they show something that's just still older to us to let us know that it's still coming, because they've been doing that in a couple other places related to other games, including I think it's Brave Exvius. They've been doing that, the Dissidia Ominous Acrim, which is like the mobile Dissidia game that they've talked about, or at least have mentioned in passing, that game is still a thing. But I don't think we get to see any more new gameplay this time around. And if anything, if by some miracle we get to see something new, I think you see cutscenes and that, they talk about how the game has changed.
Yeah. I would be, completely satisfied if they did that. And I want to ask you specifically, JJ, but the others can chime in too, especially you, Rich. But what would be your reaction if we get a flash of the Final Fantasy 16 logo? Like just a logo.
I don't want a Final Fantasy 16 right now. I don't think that right now they should not be. I think here's the thing, because I say that and I know in the back of my mind they're probably already in pre-production for something like that, which makes sense, for big franchises and for companies that are that big. But I don't think they should be talking about Final Fantasy 16. We just had Final Fantasy 15 not too long ago. We still just had Windows Edition not too long ago for Final Fantasy 15. They already got 2 other big games, technically 3 other big games, if you count Dragon Quest 11 with them, that are in the pipeline, that have some of which haven't come out yet, or at least some of which are in limbo in some regard. I don't think it's the right time to be talking about that. I think that next year, maybe, if not the following year. If they do, then hey, more power to them to let them know, hey, we're working on it. But even then, Square Enix has a problem with showing games earlier that we just wait years for them. I don't think they should even be talking about that. It should be just Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Remake possibly, and Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah, and like Ruthless just said, they're still working on Final Fantasy 15. We have talked about that in the past, and it wouldn't, surprise me if we saw.
Yeah, the DLC. That was the other thing. I just forgot about. You just reminded me about something. Yeah, you just reminded me about that. It's just the downloadable content for Final Fantasy 15, the Season 2 stuff. That's the other thing that I completely forgot about, that they mentioned actually at PAX, that they said that they're going to have a whole bunch of story-based and location-based DLC for Season 2 of that. So maybe we get the first glimpse of that as well.
Yeah, I actually don't want to see any more Final Fantasy 15 at the conference, but I wouldn't put it past them. I'm sure they're going to do it. So, yeah. Carry on,
Absolutely.
Rich.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with a lot of what you guys had to say. I'm gonna say a few more things. Dana, I'm gonna go to you next though. Square Enix, what do you think we'll see from Square Enix at E3? Unmute.
I am on mute again. I'm sorry. Let's see. Which one are we talking about?
Square Enix.
Square Enix, yes. Big thing that I think is going to be their big highlight is going to be Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tombs, which is their big game that they're expecting people to go out there and buy. As you guys know before, I think it's extremely boring, and it's not that great of a game, but that's going to be their big thing. Aside from any type of new games, I don't know. I just see a lot of maybe more. I don't even know. I think Tomb Raiders is going to be their big main thing that they're going to focus on. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. That one. And maybe Elder Scrolls. Who knows? Yeah.
Elder Scrolls.
Well, yeah, just to clarify, Square Enix does not make Elder Scrolls.
Sorry, not Elder Scrolls. Not Elder Scrolls, sorry. But definitely Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's going to be their big thing.
So
let's also not forget about Final Fantasy 14 Online. Let's keep that in mind, because remember at PAX they showed off new content for the game. So I could totally see them maybe teasing some more content for that online game as well, because Final Fantasy 14 Online is a big deal to them. I know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I'm going to give a shout out to Edward in the chat. because he mentioned Sleeping Dogs too. Now, Edward, you definitely ain't keeping up on news because that studio is out of business now. So do your research, homie. As for my picks, I think it's a very good pick when you mentioned Tomb Raider as well as Final Fantasy. If I was Square Enix, I definitely will focus on Tomb Raider because you're releasing that the same month as Spider-Man and whatever other titles are going to get announced. So, yeah, they definitely need to make sure that that gets the proper attention that it needs to get at this show. Kingdom Hearts 3, I think that game is definitely dropping this year. Even though they haven't announced a release date, we'll get the release date at E3, and I will not be surprised if it is around November because I think the game has been in development so long, people just want to play it. So we'll see about that. In terms of surprises, it was a leak, the Walmart leak that we got a couple of weeks ago mentioned Just Cause 4. I think you'll definitely get that announced officially. And we do know for a fact that, because we actually have an appointment with Square Enix, there are 2 unannounced games that they're going to be talking about. That's definitely one of them. I have no idea what the other game is. I know Square Enix is also working on a Marvel game, whether it's the Avengers or I'm not really sure which property it is exactly in Marvel Universe. That game, I definitely don't believe that game is coming anytime soon, but they could maybe have a teaser for it, something to that effect. Who knows? And in terms of Final Fantasy, yeah, the Final Fantasy 15 DLC, that's a guarantee. As for this Final Fantasy 7 Remastered, I'll get into that a little bit later because I think, you know, Sony have to provide some type of update on that at some point. Obviously, not really a major focal point for them right now, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But in terms of Square Enix, yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting any major surprises. I think the announcement of a Kingdom Hearts release date is a very big deal, and I think that people are waiting on that, so that's a guarantee. But outside of that, we'll have to see. That Just Cause 4, yeah, that's definitely happening. And we'll just have to wait and see what else they have planned, because they already have quite a bit of things coming out this year, so we'll see. Any other thoughts on Square Enix before we move on to the next show?
I feel like with Square Enix, we might see a couple of their games pop up at Microsoft and Sony. But then, you know, they'll go more in depth at their own conference. So
also, I had a quick thought, maybe again, just a simple yes or no answer from everybody. Do you think that the Kingdom Hearts collection, the 1.5, 2.5, makes its way to Xbox One? Because I heard somebody on another website talking about that, because Kingdom Hearts 3 is multi-platform. It's coming out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So wouldn't it make sense for Microsoft to also get that same collection at one point? Or at least if Square Enix was actually, you know, thinking about that?
Yeah, I think that is a possibility, because for those that haven't played the series and they have an Xbox, I just, to me, that needs to come to Xbox. It will make the most logical sense. Also, in the event that Kingdom Hearts doesn't come out this year and they decide to push it to 2019, then this is a nice little, this will hold Xbox fans over for a little while to get them ready for the next game. So yeah, that's a very good guess. That's possible. I think that definitely should happen, but we'll see. Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next show? All right. So let's go on to this other show. This is another show before we get to the other bigger show. Ubisoft. Now, in regards to Ubisoft, this week, obviously, there was a leak of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You know, this is a game that I know Gary cannot wait to get his hands on that game. We got that leak a little bit early. We'll find out more about that at E3. The Division 2, another game that we heard about that is going to be at E3. So in terms of what else is going to happen regarding Ubisoft titles, I guess I'll go first. Splinter Cell. This is a series that last year I expected it to get announced at the Ubisoft Conference, and it wasn't announced. Instead, we got Beyond Good and Evil 2, which was a major announcement that people was excited about. So I totally understand that. But Splinter Cell has to happen. How soon it's going to happen, I have no idea. I would assume that this is a game that's coming out this fall, but it could very easily come out the beginning of next year. The Division 2, I know for a fact, I believe that is coming out early to spring 2019, somewhere in that time frame. So one of these games is definitely going to be coming out before that time. It's just a matter of which game it is. But yeah, Splinter Cell, I definitely expect to see that announced officially. The other unannounced game, which I believe we now know is Assassin's Creed, unless there's something else. You know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, definitely going to get a full reveal. I have heard rumors suggesting that that game is coming out this fall. If that game is coming out in October, man, there is a lot of games coming out in October. I don't know if Ubisoft wants to throw the game out at that particular time because a lot of focus is going to be on Red Dead. You know, you got Black Ops coming out that same month, as well as Battlefield. So I don't really know if they want to throw it out among all those other titles, whereas November, we still have no idea what's coming out in November. So we'll have to see on that. But Assassin's Creed Odyssey seems like pretty much that's probably what their unannounced game was. Splinter Cell, probably the other one. In terms of other surprises, I really don't have any idea. I know Prince of Persia is another series that Ubisoft wants to return to at some point in time. I don't know when they're going to return to that series, and I don't know if that's something they would announce at this particular show, but I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, I think anything could get announced at this point. Watch Dogs 3, that is another series that they have already said they are working on another Watch Dogs. But again, some of this stuff is not going to get announced because they have to save some of these announcements for next year when it's further along in development. I can only assume some of these games are still early in development, so some of the stuff is probably not going to get announced yet. But yeah, I think Splinter Cell and obviously Assassin's Creed Odyssey, those are my picks to be some of the games that we'll see a lot of, as well as the Division 2 at Ubisoft's conference. So I'm going to go to you next, Mr. Lugo. What are your predictions for the Ubisoft conference?
Definitely Splinter Cell. I definitely think that's a thing that's going to happen. And I find that more to kind of, be maybe tease, because I know Microsoft's going to go first. I think we see it first at the Microsoft conference. They get talked about a little bit, and then we get details at the Ubisoft conference, which makes sense to me because I think they've done that with Assassin's Creed games before, if I'm not mistaken, or even other games related to Ubisoft. I think also you get to see more of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I think is going to be interesting because the setting of it, the Greco-Roman setting, which I think is going to be cool, or ancient Greco-Roman setting. I think also you get Skull and Bones. You probably get to see that again. Maybe a little bit more Beyond Good and Evil 2. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see and probably hear more about that because there's been some reveals of gameplay and other stuff over time since last year when we first saw that game. I think also maybe you get a Rayman game. Like I feel like after the Rabbids and Mario and Rabbids game that was on Switch, I feel like at some point we've been getting, or at least been working up to a new Rayman game. I wouldn't be surprised because that's a series and that's a mascot that's been kind of in hibernation for quite a while, if I'm not mistaken, besides Rayman Legends and stuff. But it'd be really cool to get a new, Rayman game on Switch, besides the remake stuff and anything else, as well as also on the other platforms. I think that's totally possible. As far as new Prince of Persia, I feel like there's no need to go back to Prince of Persia anytime soon, if at all, because we have Assassin's Creed, which pretty much kind of fills that same type of slot, if you really think about it, as far as the style of gameplay and the stuff that it's doing. And I think that a lot more people, if they really had to choose between the franchises, I think a lot more people would go with Assassin's Creed. As good as like some of the older Prince of Persia games were, specifically like the Sands of Time and stuff. But as far as anything else, keep in mind, there's also that kind of that game that has the little figures. I forgot the name of it, that has the customizable figures. You know what I'm talking about, Rich, because I know you did a preview of it last year. Which one?
Yeah, I think it's called Starlink.
Starlink, yeah. I think you also get to see more of that because I remember seeing that during last year's conference and I didn't hear much about it afterwards. And I think you did a preview. You got to check it out at some point last year. But I think we get to see more of that because that never really came to fruition from my understanding because I never saw it released or anything of the sort. But I think the biggest surprise that you get is a Splinter Cell. I think that's a cool thing that's probably going to happen. And I don't say that because of the Walmart leak. I say that because that's a series that I feel like has been also in hibernation for quite some time.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I will also add the fact that they had Sam Fisher show up in that Ghost the Wildlands DLC earlier this year. That is
for Ghost Recon. Yeah. That's another thing also I should mention. I think you get more DLC for Ghost Recon and maybe more DLC for Rainbow Six Siege at some point. Like as far as like little filler type of stuff in between big announcements.
That's true. That's a very good point. Yes. Very, very good points. Okay, Gary. Ubisoft predictions.
Yeah, a lot of what you guys have said already. Mainly, of course, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which surprisingly I'm not excited for because I still didn't beat Origins yet. Like, you know, like I feel like it really is too soon again. They should stick to the 2-year cycle, I think, for Assassin's Creed now. Because the games are just so long. There's so much to do in them. Like you need a decent amount of time to consume everything, especially when we have a ton of games from different publishers that are all open world. So they need to give us more time between each game. Otherwise it's just going to get super repetitive and we're going to start to not care anymore. It's going to be the Call of Duty effect, because I really just don't care about Call of Duty anymore. And I don't want to feel the same way about Assassin's Creed. But, they really are kind of making it that way. So, yeah, I would hope that if they do announce it, it's not actually coming this year. But more than likely it is. So, yeah, more Assassin's Creed. Division 2, of course, is going to be, one of the bigger announcements, I think. The first Division was good while it lasted. So this time around, it would be cool to get more of the same of what they did with the first game, but the end game content has to be on point. Like there has to be stuff to do after you beat the actual story mode, because once you beat the Division 1, it's like, what more are you playing for at that point? Like there was really nothing more to go back for, really. So I'm hoping that they figured out a way to make it more, of an ongoing game that will keep you coming back, just like the first Destiny game. And if they work out a formula like that, then it could be a good game. So I'll keep an eye on it. We're probably going to get more Skull and Bones, and I think Skull and Bones is a game that should have released last year, in my opinion. So if they are going to show it, I hope they don't spend too long on it. Maybe there's a lot of people who are dissatisfied with Sea of Thieves, so maybe they can show some additional game modes that might kind of grab some of those people who were looking for more, in terms of the whole pirate experience. But yeah, I hope they don't spend too long on this game if they do show it. Beyond Good and Evil 2, I think there's going to be a lot of focus on that, because that was the game that shocked us all last year. So I'm sure they're going to show more of that and show how it's progressed since last year. A lot of people are excited for it, and I'm very intrigued by it, even though I didn't play the original game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more on that. If Splinter Cell is announced at Microsoft, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have something about that at the Ubisoft conference also. So that's something to expect. The Crew 2 still isn't out yet, so they're probably gonna have maybe a solid release date or something of that nature. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just want to say, yeah, The Crew is actually coming out at the end of this month. So.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Oh no, you good. So that's possible.
Yeah, so they'll probably just just give us like a kind of final trailer or something for it, maybe. But yeah, that's. Oh, they're probably gonna have like Toys to Life stuff, I guess, as well. Maybe a new. Is it Skylanders, that game that they have?
Oh no! That's the Starlink game.
Oh, okay.
Skylanders is Activision.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Oh yeah, that series is. I believe that series is over for Activision.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So they're probably gonna have that play to life thing, Toys to Life thing. But yeah, that's all I can really think of for them.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I will just add that Dana also said Splinter Cell. Her signal dropped, so I don't know if she'll be back because of where she's at. But yeah, good thoughts all around for Ubisoft. we'll see how that goes. We have 2 more shows to get into. So since a lot of people said that we are the PlayStation fanatics, we might as well talk about the Sony show next, because that is the next show in the actual schedule. So regarding the Sony conference, I know there was a couple of things that I did see that there was a document going around online saying about this is the stuff that's going to be at the conference. You know, I won't really believe any of that until we actually see the actual conference. But they made mention of a few things in there that I do think is definitely going to happen. Obviously, the Shadows Die Twice thing that we saw from Software a while back, that will get revealed. And I think that's Bloodborne 2. And if it's not Bloodborne 2, it could be another new game with the actual title, Shadows Die Twice. But I just, for some reason, I feel like this is Bloodborne 2. So that'll probably get revealed at Sony's conference. Obviously, they've already announced the 4 games that they'll be focusing on, which is, of course, The Last of Us, Death Stranding, Spider-Man, and I believe Ghost of Tsushima is the 4th one, if I'm not incorrect.
It's Last of Us 2, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding.
Okay, so with Last of Us 2, I think we'll finally get the gameplay trailer, and I would say that we may get a release date. I don't know. It seems like that game, every report that I see is indicated that that game has been in development for a long time, and it would even is to suggest that it's been in development longer than they have said. So I would be surprised if we don't get a release date at this particular show. I mean, they could obviously wait to PSX and release it, but I think this is a game that you're going to see very soon. By soon, I mean maybe the start of next year, if not this fall. But I think more than likely they're going to save that for next year, because we don't have any idea what's coming out next year outside of Days Gone. So I make the guess that we're going to get a release date for that. In terms of other surprises, I know that there were leaks from Devil May Cry 5, you know, the stuff that keeps getting announced. And we've heard that this was supposed to be shown at PSX, wasn't shown at PSX. So, yeah, I think we'll finally get that confirmation at Sony's conference that that game is in development. It will be coming out soon. They have already released a collection of the other Devil May Cry games. So this game is definitely going to get announced sooner or later. But I would make a guess at Sony's conference it's going to get announced. And aside from other surprises, I really have no idea. You know, we already know a lot of games that Sony has been working on. Some stuff we just need basically release dates or more information on. So we're probably going to get a lot of that stuff if I had to make any guesses. But I may think of a few other things once I hear what you guys have to say. So, Mr. Lugo, what are your predictions for the Sony conference?
For PlayStation specifically, yeah. Let's honestly, I think that we're gonna get some more surprises than what we just know. I think that there's still gonna be some other cool stuff that they haven't telegraphed already that's shown. I think that you get another trailer probably for the Spyro collection, the Spyro Remastered collection. I also think that you probably get some announcements of some other random stuff that we're not even thinking of. Like, I remember at PS6 they announced Medieval that's coming, Medieval Remastered. Maybe you get the first gameplay of something like that, which I think would be pretty damn cool. I think also you get, again, some other random silly stuff that, again, we're just not able to think of, because I think there's more to that conference than just the 4 games that they're showing. I know that they said that's what they're focusing on, but I don't think they're going to go to E3 just to show more of those 4 games that we already know that are coming out and we've seen a lot of gameplay for, with the exception of Death Stranding. I think that you also get the first gameplay of Death Stranding at this conference too. Let's be real. I think that they're making a big deal, obviously, with Hideo Kojima. It'd be really nice to see what that game actually is and kind of get a little bit more clarification about it, because we've been teased about it for so long. We already know the people and the players that are involved, but we need to know the style of game and the type of game that it actually is. Besides that, I think that obviously seeing Spider-Man's right around the corner, seeing the first real gameplay with, like, you know, more of the characters that we know of for The Last of Us 2, I think is a definite possibility. Ghost of Tsushima, I think we've already seen technically gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima, but it'd be nice to see more of that because it looks great. Don't get me wrong. I think it looks awesome. And I think if we see a little bit more of that, it'll probably make some people happy. But I still think there's going to be more to this show than what they're letting on.
Oh, yeah, I agree. there definitely going to be a lot of surprises we don't know about. So I'm very curious to know what those surprises are going to be. Gary, how about you? Let us know what your predictions are for the Sony conference.
I don't have much in terms of actual predictions. I really just want to I'm fascinated by the fact that this is going to be kind of a different showing and that they're putting the focus on those 4 games. I do think we'll get some reveals in between segments, I guess. Like you mentioned, Bloodborne, I definitely wouldn't be surprised at that because I think it's already been confirmed that those guys are working on another game in that series, so we probably are going to get that. I don't know, I'm not sure what to expect besides of course we're going to see Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Spider-Man. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of those, but I'm not sure about actual new announcements that we don't already know. I feel like Sony's in a very confident space right now, and I really just want to see what their swagger is like on stage, like just to see how confident they are in the product right now. Because I feel like Sean Layden's going to be he's going to be swagging out on stage, showing his dominance and everything like that. So I'm really interested to see what Sony has, and I think they're starting to see E3 as like their secondary show. So like they want to make PSX their main bread and butter in terms of revealing and press conferences and things of that nature. So I think they know they're in a position of power right now, and they probably don't need to do too much to come out of E3 looking good. So yeah, I think they're just going to have a very safe E3 conference. I don't think we're going to see a lot of like megatons or anything like that. It's just going to be very safe. So that's all I can really say about Sony.
I definitely think Sony will be saving some big guns for PSX because they want that to be more of their community-focused show. Plus, you got people flying out specifically for that event. So they're going to have some surprises there. But regardless of this show, there will be some surprises. It's just it's a matter of what the surprises are. I don't know what they're going to announce, but definitely looking forward to it. So we just have to wait and see. We don't have to wait that much longer, though. It's only about a week away. So any final thoughts on PlayStation before we move on to the final show for E3? Okay. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is the show that I believe Gary is the most excited for because before we started recording, he said, I saw that new Pokemon game for Nintendo Switch, and you know what? Now I need to get a Switch immediately. So, Gary, let me know first, what are your thoughts on what we will see at this Nintendo conference?
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought you were going to say PC gaming show because that's the show I'm looking forward to the most. But
well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that show. Maybe that show will be good, but the fact that that show is the scheduling of that show is a little ridiculous compared to everything else. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really just trolling there because the shows have been bad, but I am holding on to hope that one day we'll get a good PC gaming show. But yeah, more than likely it's not going to be good. But yeah, as for Nintendo, I don't really have too much to say because, as you know, I'm not heavily into Nintendo. I don't know as much as you guys, and especially JJ, about what Nintendo's doing and everything. But I am very interested in Pokemon RPG games. Now, as for what I know, and JJ can probably talk, he can confirm this, but as for what I know so far, the 2 Pokemon games that they announced recently, those aren't the actual, next generation RPG game. They're adaptations of previous ones, and one of them is like a kind of like a Pokemon Go kind of game for the Switch, basically.
No,
so I think
not true at all. You got it wrong. You got it actually inversed.
Okay, go ahead. clear that up for me.
Okay, so the new Pokemon games for the Switch are Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. That's the next Pokemon game. The thing is that they're getting elements and stuff from Pokemon Go, and they're kind of streamlining more this time around than they have in previous iterations of Pokemon. So as opposed to having random encounters, you're going to be able to see Pokemon in the wild grass and be able to encounter them. And they have little gimmicks involving like an actual tangible Pokeball that's very similar to catching Pokemon, kind of like what you do in Pokemon Go. But that one is technically the next Pokemon game that's out. Now, the other one, the third one that they revealed, is very similar to Pokemon Rumble, where it's kind of like you have the little wind-up Pokemon dolls and stuff, but it's not like an action RPG very similar to that one. There's a lot more gimmicky, more toned-down stuff. I would akin it more to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon with a couple little things here and there as far as like details, but the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are the new Pokemon games.
Okay, so the Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, those are officially the next level.
Yep.
Pokemon.
That's the next one. Those are the next two games that you're getting that are going to be the Switch Pokemon games.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to need to look into all this stuff a bit more to really make a decision. But from what I heard and what I saw so far, like, I'm not too sure, you know, if it's something I really want to hop on. But maybe they have the chance to impress me at E3. So I'm hoping they show me something that I haven't seen yet. And, you know, that it really blows me away, because I was really looking forward to a new Pokemon game. So, you know, hopefully they'll show us something. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind seeing more Shin Megami Tensei, because I know that's another game that's on the cards. And I've recently really got into the whole Shin Megami Tensei thing, and I want to play more of those games. So that's another game that has the potential to get me to actually buy a Switch as well. So, yeah, those are two things I'm particularly looking forward to. I'm not really too sure what else to expect. So you guys go for it.
All right, yeah, the floor is yours, Mr. Lugo.
So obviously, being the one that's, I guess you could say, is immersed within the Nintendo ecosystem, I think I have a pretty good grasp of what's going to go down this year, with the exception of whatever surprises that they might show during the Nintendo Direct, which is going to be the big thing. The biggest thing that they've telegraphed so far is the new Smash Brothers, which is a new game that's on Nintendo Switch. They have the Smash Brothers Invitational, on top of also the Splatoon 2 Invitational, which I believe we're going to get some more content for Splatoon 2. I think that's going to be a thing, because they're trying to make that into like the esports Nintendo game besides Smash Brothers. I think for Smash, we get more characters, like an official like selection of characters revealed on the roster during the Invitational, like playable characters. I think that we get some surprises probably as announcements for third-party characters, which I fully believe are Spyro the Dragon and or Crash Bandicoot. I think it's not a coincidence that Crash Bandicoot is coming to the Switch. I think that was part of the last Nintendo Direct that we got as far as big reveals. I think also that Spyro might make its way to the Nintendo Switch, because that makes sense, especially if Crash Bandicoot is making its way. And it would be awesome to see as a reveal that Crash gets to be the third-party highlighted character, or at least one of the third-party highlighted characters that's revealed as a fighter on the roster. I still think you're going to get other third-party characters like Sonic. I think that maybe you also get the Square Enix character, which I don't think would be something like what they've had in the past, like Cloud. I think it'd be very interesting that if we get a third-party character reveal like Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I think that a lot of people have talked about that for quite some time, and if it's not the case and you don't end up getting that, you probably get another Final Fantasy character or Final Fantasy related character that's revealed on there. As far as anybody else with third-party character reveals for Smash, it's anybody's game at this point. I don't think you're going to get a Solid Snake. I don't think you're going to get something crazy like a cartoon character or anything of the sort. I think that you're going to still get the majority of Nintendo first-party characters in there, but I think that maybe this time around you're going to see characters that you didn't see in the last game, like the Ice Climbers or anything of the sort. As far as other Nintendo games are concerned, besides the Pokemon stuff, which I think is a big deal, there have been rumors for a while and little things here and there, leaks, which I don't believe that you're going to get a new Star Fox game that's going to be a spinoff. I don't think that's the case. What I think is going to happen, that you're going to get a port of Star Fox Zero because that makes more sense to me. And then possibly either the crossover game that people have been talking about, which is the Star Fox and F-Zero game, or a brand new Star Fox title. Or again, if that's not the case, you just get the Star Fox port from Star Fox Zero, and then you get the F-Zero title. Because there's been a lot of stuff passed around saying that Star Fox and F-Zero having a crossover racing game. And I don't think that's something that people really wanted, or it's people really asking for, especially after a lot of people were burnt after Star Fox Zero. I think that they would rather have one series and then the other series completely separate at this point in time, because I think it'd be great to have a new F-Zero game. Don't get me wrong. I think that after the Fast Racing Neo game that was on the Switch, I think Nintendo should be thinking about, if not have already been thinking about, bringing F-Zero to the States or bringing F-Zero to the Nintendo Switch, because people clearly want it. They've wanted it for quite a while. I think you also get more details about Metroid Prime 4. I don't think you necessarily get a big blowout of information, because remember, they only teased it last year at E3. They only showed the logo. I think this is the first time you see something, as far as like maybe a cutscene of Samus Aran and like whatever new worlds she's going to explore or whatever evil she's going to fight. I don't think you get gameplay. I'd be very surprised if you get gameplay of Metroid Prime 4, because I think that game is still way early in development. I think you also get more DLC for Breath of the Wild. I wouldn't be surprised if we get more stuff from some of the other DLC content that I think was teased. I don't think we've gone through all the Breath of the Wild DLC as far as the season pass stuff, but I do think you get also teased some new content for Breath of the Wild, as well as also maybe Super Mario Odyssey, as well as also maybe Mario Kart 8, because those are big games right now on the Nintendo Switch, and it'd be smart to have those titles, as well as also Smash Brothers, at the forefront of when the Nintendo online service is launched later this year. I think that's coming out, or at least launching in September, and that'll be a perfect way to be like, okay, here's the reasons why you need to dive in to the Nintendo online service, with Smash Brothers being the front runner of that. As far as any other titles are concerned, I still think you're going to get a bunch of indie titles, as far as indie game titles that are going to be on the Switch. There was also that leak of the third-party games, if you guys didn't see that, but we're going to get Dragon Ball FighterZ on the Nintendo Switch, which was a given for a lot of people, as well as also a couple other titles that were listed on there, including, I believe it was Dark Souls Remastered. That was also another one that's coming out at a later date. And there was a couple other titles I can't remember at the current moment. But as far as big surprises are concerned, it's going to be pretty much what I mentioned as far as Nintendo first-party stuff. I don't think you get any other bigger reveals as far as third-party titles. I think it's really going to just be focused more on Nintendo games that are first-party games that are big reveals, which are stuff that we already know.
Sounds good. Those are great overview. So I agree with a lot of what was said. Only two other points that I will make very quickly. If I had to make a guess of other things that we'll hear about, I definitely think that we will finally, maybe we will finally get a release date for Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. I know that Suda51 wanted to have that game out this year, but it all depends when they decide to actually release it. But yeah, I think we'll definitely hear more about that regarding somewhat of a release date, or, you know, give more insight as to when we can expect to receive more news. And the other game, which is a game that was brought up in the chat by our very good friend Mills, Bayonetta 3. Because we already got the 1 and 2 remaster on Switch earlier this year, I definitely think we'll get an update on where they are at with development of Bayonetta 3. Now, I'm not saying the game is coming out this year. I don't think it's coming out this year. Maybe it could come out sometime early next year or in spring. So if that is the case, it definitely will get shown, because I'm pretty sure Nintendo may want to, you know, start to build up some more attention towards it, just to let you know it's coming out. But then they can also have another Nintendo Direct later on this year, if that's the case, for that particular game and a whole bunch of other stuff. But those are pretty much the only two things that I would add. I pretty much agree with everything that you guys had to say about Nintendo. So we'll just have to wait and see what they have for us within the next few weeks. But any final thoughts on Nintendo or any other E3 stuff before we get ready to wrap up today's show?
Not really. Again, I'm curious to see what this Nintendo Direct is going to show that day. I believe the Nintendo Direct is happening on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like the very start of E3. So they do it every year like that, where they show it on the Twitch stream right in the hall. So we'll see it as we're going in, because we're getting in early into the show, you know, as media and industry people. But we're going to see what happens. We'll see what goes down.
Absolutely. Gary, you had something you wanted to add?
And I was just going to say Nintendo's in a good position because, you know, they really don't have to do too much. And they have the least amount of pressure on them, you know, like they're already doing good. The console is selling, you know, in quick succession. And, you know, I think Sony and Microsoft are the companies that have the most pressure on them because the moves that they make directly affects each other, you know, more so than what Nintendo's doing. So Nintendo really just has their own lane to do whatever they want. So I think Nintendo can do no wrong at the moment. So yeah, I think they're, you know, they're pretty much guaranteed to have a solid conference, I think, because, you know, there's not really much they could do wrong. So I'll be looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess that pretty much concludes our E3 prediction show for today. So just a quick programming note. Well, Gary's probably going to go into this in more detail, but Gary, they're going to be having some shows throughout the week, starting around E3. I'll let him talk about that in more detail. We actually will also be flying out to LA this upcoming Friday, and we will be there until the following Friday. So we have a couple of things we're going to be working on, and we'll definitely share that information with all of you after we've all gotten it together. We're still trying to finalize appointments, so on and so forth. But
all that's happening last minute. It's all going down to like the 11th hour, people. Like literally, this is how E3 is. Everything goes down to like the last minute.
Absolutely. And I will give a shout out to all the PR companies that have invited us for appointments, but I will also give a shout out to the PR companies that are waiting till the last minute to do this stuff, because I understand it's a hectic schedule, but yeah, they have got to get this stuff done so that everybody can move forward and know what the actual plan is. But definitely stay tuned for our coverage. We'll definitely have a lot that we'll be getting into, talking more details. But for now, we thank you all for checking out today's show and appreciate the continued support. Mr. Lugo, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Yes, of course. I want to give big shout outs to everybody watching the show now, everybody that's been checking out and commenting on all the reviews, on all the articles that we've been posting up. Again, we're getting ready to go into our Super Bowl very, very soon. Like the whole team is getting ready to roll out. We're gonna roll out on some people. We're gonna press some people at E3. So don't worry. We got a lot of content and a lot of stuff that we got planned out over the course of the next week, starting Friday or Saturday, technically, of this weekend into next week, because E3 is very big for us. So definitely keep a lookout on the website for new updates on our social media, especially I know Rich is on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Gary's also on Twitter. And a lot of us that are going are going to be on Twitter as well. I'm going to be live tweeting a lot throughout the entirety of the week, a whole bunch of different stuff, you know, different individuals we see, different companies, different publishers. We're going to try to make sure we have a big blowout of content and exclusive stuff and sneak peeks of things that we never really did before, because we've been working hard as far as like setting all this stuff up, seeing all the latest games that are getting announced, getting hands-on demos and impressions of games that are shown and that we get behind closed doors that we could talk about. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you guys are really going to enjoy that you never really saw before from us this time, or at least in previous years. So this is going to be really, really cool. And I'm really excited to share a lot of the stuff with you as the week goes on. But shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting us on the website. Shout out to all the patrons as well. Shout out to all the PR people who are going through hell right now because we've been bombarding them with emails. Shout out to all the other people who are going to press at the booths coming up in E3, because we're gonna roll up on some people. I'm going in with the Squirtle Squad, especially Nintendo, because we're gonna go roll up on them on one day. But all joking aside, I'm looking forward to being out there. Shout out to everybody also that's traveling to E3 starting this weekend, because I know a couple of our friends of the show from various different outlets are going out there. Everybody's coming across the United States for this, and it's going to be a big deal. So can't wait. And again, shout out to everybody else that's going to be checking out all our content throughout the week.
Absolutely. Yes. So I also want to give a shout out to everybody that has been watching live or listening on the download. We appreciate the continued support. Give a shout out to the big clowns in the chat today, Ruthless Kid and Edward. They had a lot of jokes. I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say about Xbox conference. So I look forward to that. Shout out to Mills. Shout out to Miguel. Wish him a happy birthday as well. And and everybody else that has been watching us live in the chat. We appreciate the continued support. And Gary, the floor is now yours for shout outs.
These guys are hilarious. Yeah, just to keep everyone updated, we will be, you know, having shows and a lot of coverage throughout, you know, E3. Of course, these guys are going to be at the show. I'm not going this year. I'm going to be at home. So, you know, I'll be around to cover, you know, I'll be posting up news and I'll be, you know, covering the shows, you know, not entirely as they happen, but, you know, we're working out the schedule still because, you know, it's a bit tough with the time difference and everything, but definitely Dana will be around. There will be a co-op, you know, next Sunday and probably on the Monday too. And we're going to have some guests on the show and everything to recap what's been going on. And then, you know, on Wednesday, I think we're going to have another recap, and we'll also probably be doing some after hours shows as well, just to discuss certain announcements in more detail, you know, with more people and stuff like that. So, you know, that will be for the Patreon people. Of course, you know, other people will get all the segments and everything as usual too. So be on the lookout. There's a lot of content on the way from us. And, you know, it's going to be a big week. So I hope everyone's as excited as we are. But as usual, I'm going to give a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. That's M. Collins, Sean Gority, Stephen Ferron, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, and Antonio Rogers. A big happy birthday to Miguel. You know, hope you're having a good day. And thanks for spending your birthday with us and everything. So big shouts to him. Shouts to F Mills, who's also in the chat today. And big shouts to the TK After Hours crew, Ruthless Randoms, and Edward V. These guys are hilarious. You know, they've been getting on our case the whole show, talking about how we're fanboys and, you know, we don't pay enough respect to Microsoft and things of that nature. So yeah, on the next After Hours, I'm going to go in on these people. So be on the lookout for that. But that's pretty much it from me.
Gary gonna press people on the after hour show. Everybody's getting pressed like a panini.
For sure.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you all for your continued support. And we will talk to you all next week.